I'm Andy Temte, and welcome to the Saturday Morning Muse. Start your weekend with me by exploring topics that span leadership, business management, education, and other musings that are designed to support your journey of personal and professional continuous improvement. I do my best to keep the Saturday Morning Muse out of the political spectrum, but this week I make an exception. As we march toward Election Day on November 5th, 2024, it's important that our voices are heard and that we exercise our rights of free speech. This episode is on the longer side of things and should be watched in its entirety. To do otherwise would mean that what I have to say has a high probability of being taken out of context and potentially twisted for others' political gain. Now, Albert Einstein and Martin Luther King Jr. are examples of extraordinary humans who have uttered publicly some version of the following phrase: silence is complicity. I am in no way extraordinary, but I am compelled to speak out. I will not sit quietly in silence, nor will I throw anonymous barbs and insults in public spaces. Far too many of us fall into the trap of amplifying unverified mis- or disinformation that only serves to get everyone riled up and create a whole bunch of emotional waste. So, to be as constructive as possible, here's a list of where I stand politically. First, I am a proud citizen of the United States of America, and also a proud resident of planet Earth. We all live together on this pale blue dot that encircles an unremarkable star in an unremarkable corner of the Milky Way galaxy, paraphrasing the late Carl Sagan. Our existence is fragile, beautiful, and rare. It should be treated with great care. Therefore, international cooperation is of paramount importance to our success as a species. Organizations like NATO, the WHO, and the United Nations are essential. Are they perfect? Absolutely not. Should they be invested in and continually improved? Absolutely. We must learn to live and work together, and to do otherwise will ensure our destruction. Second, I am an independent fiscal conservative. That's the box that you would put me in from a political perspective. I've voted before for Republican and Democratic candidates in the past. I choose the best person for the job and believe that unflinching loyalty to the dogma of a political party leads to fixed mindsets, unnecessary partisan conflict, and unproductive gridlock. Unfortunately, the Republican Party's leadership has abandoned me as a voter and as a citizen. There was a time when I voted primarily Republican, but the consistent, demonstrated willingness to denigrate, ignore science, bully, ally with conspiracy and hate, and bend to the will of one individual by whitewashing a heinous attack on American democracy disgusts me. If you're wondering what attack I'm talking about, it's January 6th, 2021. I will never forget what I saw that day. And no, it was not some authorized tour of the Capitol. Next, I believe in rational thought, logical reasoning, scientific inquiry, and the light that lives within all of us. I believe that education is the key to a brighter future where we tap into the best versions of ourselves as individuals and as a society. We must embrace the power of diversity, lead with equity and compassion, lift up voices, and listen with an intent to understand and include, and not to exclude and tear down. Education and the essential skill of critical thinking can be used to break down conspiracy theories and act as a check on the blatant lies that politicians on all sides tell to exploit education gaps. For example, do you really think that one person The President of the United States has direct control over the ebbs and flows of the stock market, gas prices, and grocery prices. Global economic markets are wildly complex. You can't call the president a bumbling idiot in one breath and simultaneously accuse him or her of pulling the strings of global markets for their personal political gain or to make the other side look bad. Let's make continuing lifelong education a priority. If we want America to be the truly exceptional leader on the world stage, this is how we do it. Right now, we're taking huge steps backward by vilifying higher and continuing education in this country. Next, I believe strongly in the separation between church and state. Religious liberty should be upheld as a primary objective. My choice of the word liberty is purposeful here. My religious affiliation, or lack thereof, should not impede on your right to pursue a different line of thought. For more on the difference between liberty and freedom, I wrote a muse on the subject back in August of 2021. Next, I believe in efficiency, continuous improvement, and getting as close to the work as possible. This means that government at all levels should be compact and agile enough to meet the needs of society in any given span of time, but strong enough to withstand unexpected shocks and external threats. Also, the implementation of policy should be localized to capture the nuance of what matters most in a particular region, and handoffs between agencies and state and local governments should be smooth. Next, I believe that waste and unbridled spending at all levels of government will saddle our children and our children's children with a burden that will be difficult to bear, especially as wage earner population growth slows. The United States national debt as a proportion of GDP, or gross domestic product, stands at roughly 123% as of the end of 2023. Research by the World Bank suggests that debt to GDP ratios above 77% lead to a loss of real economic growth. Until recently, we were living in a fantasy world of near zero interest rates and free money. In more normal interest rate environments, like the ones we see today, our national debt will begin to become a crushing burden. The interest payments I'm talking about. Governmental agencies at all levels need to embark on a continuous improvement journey to eliminate waste, improve organizational health and clarity, and focus on the needs of the customer. Yes, that's you and me, the United States taxpayer. Don't get bamboozled by the old tired line that we need to run the government like a business. This is a false narrative. Government isn't business, and there are distinct differences in their respective remits. However, all institutions can benefit from installing a management operating system based on the tenets of organizational health and continuous improvement. Next, I believe in a woman's right to choose. For centuries, men, particularly white men like me, have been designing laws and making decisions on behalf of women. It is tragic to terminate a pregnancy? Yeah. Is it tragic to force a woman to have a baby only to societally abandon them in a nation with some of the worst family leave policies and weakest social support programs for young families in the developed world? Absolutely. Since both answers are yes, the decision to carry or abort is deeply personal and should be had within the confines of a doctor-patient relationship. I take my lead from and listen intently to the majority of women in this country who support a woman's right to choose. My voice is one of allyship and support. Next, I believe in common sense gun control. The framers of our Constitution could not have envisaged the firepower that's available to the average citizen today, and the population density of the 21st century would have been unfathomable. Unfathomable. It is a well-established medical fact that the prefrontal cortex is not fully developed until age 25, especially in men. In most U.S. states, the drinking age is 21, and you can't rent a car until you're 25, but an 18-year-old can buy an AR-15 style rifle? The logic just doesn't hold. The ease with which one can purchase a gun in this country is astounding. Let's take action and save all the thoughts and prayers for spiritual issues. Now, in the spirit of full transparency, I am a gun owner. I have one .22 caliber rifle and an air pistol, and that I use for target practice and to put the occasional varmint out of its misery on our 40-acre property. Next, I believe in efficient, legal immigration pathways. Immigrants are and have been an essential component of our collective economic engine and rich societal diversity, which I see as an asset and not a liability. Unfortunately, for decades, the United States Congress has shirked its duty to create and nurture efficient immigration pathways into our country, instead opting to use illegal immigration as a cudgel to bash the other side and make it appear that illegal border crossings are the other side's fault. Solving our immigration challenges is a shared responsibility that very few politicians seem willing or able to tackle with any kind of serious effort. We've got to change that. Next, I believe that we've accumulated massive non-monetary debts that must be paid down. Examples include climate change, institutionalized inequality, crumbling physical infrastructure, a costly, ineffectual higher education system, and children who go to bed each night with an empty stomach are just a few examples. So while I'm an efficient government fiscal conservative at my core, I see clearly the need for programs funded at the federal level to solve many of these big, hairy, audacious challenges we face together as a nation and a global community. Should there be a federal solution for everything? Absolutely not. Do we need a strong, well-run federal government to lead on the world stage? Absolutely. What keeps me up at night is that we've made public service so undesirable that we face a tremendous shortage of skilled talent, especially managerial talent. Without our best and brightest coming together to address our challenges, I'm deeply concerned that simply throwing more money at the problem won't move the needle, except for the needle of inflation. Can the private sector help? Most definitely. But we need our best and brightest in the private sector to have equally strong governmental leaders and managers to interface with. Now, it's unconstructive to get on my soapbox and not offer any solutions. At the very top of my list of recommendations is to install strict term limits for our political leaders, completely revamp campaign finance, reduce the role of lobbyists to influence elected officials, and if you're a conspiracy theory looking for the true deep state in this country, it is the lobbyists that are there as the deep state. I believe we need to install ethical standards that have teeth, meaning ethical failures then lead to education and accountability. Oh, and let's scrap this thing called the Electoral College. There is absolutely no way that a race for the United States Senate, for example, should exceed $250 million. Let's get dark money donors out of the picture and let the people truly decide. Want to drain the swamp in Washington? Make the job of a senator a maximum of a 12-year gig. Congressperson, 8 years. The president, 1 6-year term. Also, the privilege of being appointed to the Supreme Court should not last a lifetime. And let's get educated. A balanced civics education should be mandatory for all high school students. Many of us wave around the Constitution and our other great documents, but have no idea what's actually inside them. Now, there's only one way, and that way is forward, which, by the way, is the motto of my home state of Wisconsin. It's also forward and together. We cannot move forward if we're so polarized and fixed in our thinking that the act of listening to the other side amounts to canned, party-approved responses that paint political opponents and our neighbors as enemies and evil. Once we start thinking of the other side as unhuman, then we are indeed in real trouble. Dehumanizing our fellow humans is the path to war and destruction. Now, a large proportion of our current crop of politicians is failing us miserably. What we need is more legitimate political discourse that's targeted at solving real problems. You see glimpses of this now and then, but not at the scale we really need. We need politicians who remember their oaths and possess the strength of moral character that won't crumble at the first sign of criticism from party leadership. Now, I found the process of writing down my personal political beliefs valuable, and I recommend that you do the same. It's easy to fall in line and follow the words and beliefs of others. It's much harder to reflect upon where you stand, codify it, and then contribute constructively to the conversation. Oh, and by the way, will my political leanings be constant throughout my life? Absolutely not. They're going to change as I learn and as I grow. So to imagine that what I was thinking 20 years ago is what I think today, that's also a false narrative. Now, it's not lost on me that there are a lot of I's in my message. I'm giving you a glimpse into my political mindset so that you know where I stand. However, the future belongs to us. Like any business, family, or institution, we succeed by working together. I love our country. Let's not squander our gifts on infighting and a futile attempt to return to the past. Let's come together and stop the childish name-calling and dehumanization of the quote-unquote other side. Instead, vote for political candidates who are passionate about causes that align with your personal North Star and who see the benefits of education, collaboration, compromise, and efficiently paying down the many, many debts that we've accumulated. Indeed, silence is complicity. I wish you grace, dignity, and compassion. Have a great weekend as you recharge for the week ahead.